When you look in the mirror, I mean, really look and as that big question, who am I?
Mm,
What comes up first?
mm,
Is it your name, your job?
mm.
Maybe, being a parent or a spouse?
Or does that question itself kind of nudge you, suggesting the real answer is somewhere deeper beneath all those labels we stick on ourselves?
Exactly. And that quest, that digging for the authentic self, that's really what we're diving into today.
Yeah, and this isn't just like abstract philosophy. We're getting into the nitty-gritty, the research, the insights, the whole technical framework laid out in this foundational book, The Foundations of Angel Wing, Volume 1.
It's a blueprint, really. A guide to understanding who you are beyond the surface, breaking free from those mental limits and actually achieving, real, lasting personal transformation.
It's definitely dense stuff, but so crucial.
Absolutely. And before we even start unpacking this blueprint for self-mastery, we really have to give a huge thank you to the people whose incredible work made this volume possible.
Oh, definitely. Our sincere gratitude goes to Dr. Tatana Kripalu, who's the founder and CEO of the Angel Wing LLC.
And also to Dr. Elizabeth Berman. She's a member of the Angel Wing Mastermind Group and a really dedicated presenter of this material.
And we absolutely must thank Sachin J. Karnik. He's the researcher who did all the heavy lifting, all that essential background research for the Foundations of Angel Wing Volume 1 technical book.
Yeah, their combined efforts have given us something truly powerful, something that really pushes us to rethink how we see ourselves and the world.
It's quite a gift.
So our mission today, we want to unpack the core ideas here. We're going to look at the 4 key aspects the book says are necessary for real self-discovery.
Which means, getting beyond just those surface labels.
Exactly. And understanding the role of subconscious programming, how it runs the show behind the scenes.
And then finally, laying out the path the book describes towards achieving that kind of deep, stable sense of well-being.
So basically, we're mapping the journey from just reacting automatically based on old conditioning
To becoming conscious, deliberate masters of our own internal state.
Okay, so let's start right at the beginning, that basic inquiry. What actually is the self? Is it my mind, this body, or just like the constant stream of thoughts going through my head?
Well, the book jumps right in by pointing out the first huge roadblock. It calls this concept erroneous identifications.
Erroneous identifications. Okay.
Yeah, it's the mistake we make when we define ourselves only by external things that change. Think about it. Your job title, how much money you have, where you went to school, even the country you happen to be born in.
Or family roles, like being a parent or child.
Exactly. Or even your name. These are all external factors.
But wait, those things are part of my life, right? If I'm an architect, that's a fact. Why call it erroneous? That sounds like it's saying it's wrong.
Good question. It's not saying the fact is wrong. It's saying the identification is erroneous, meaning you're seeing yourself as the label instead of seeing it as a role you're playing or a circumstance you're in right now.
Okay, I think I see. So if I am my job,
Then what happens if you retire? Or get laid off? That identity just shatters.
yeah, okay.
And your sense of self goes right down with it. Boom. Instability.
Right.
And the book points out the even trickier ones are the identifications based on past experiences. Like maybe something really tough happened, cruelty or trauma. If you start identifying as a victim of that cruelty, you let that past event define who you are now and what you're capable of.
So these mistaken ideas, these erroneous identifications, they basically build the walls of a psychological prison because they chain our sense of worth to things outside of us, things we often can't control.
That's exactly it. It's a cage. We anchor ourselves to things that happen to us or roles we're just playing for a while instead of tapping into that authentic self, the real you, which the book argues has to be deeper than circumstances.
It has to be constant, unchanging, regardless of what life throws at you.
Exactly. Independent of the chaos outside.
Okay, so this is where it gets even more complex. The book talks about this paradox of expectation. It suggests we all kind of carry around this unspoken belief that life should work out in a certain way.
Rationally, fairly.
Yeah, like we have this internal yardstick, measuring everything, success, fairness, how people should behave.
Yeah.
And often this yardstick is something we just absorbed, subconsciously programmed into us.
And that yardstick, it's basically a recipe for feeling disappointed or upset.
It's almost guaranteed distress.
Yeah.
Because reality rarely sticks to our neat little scripts. When things don't go according to our plan, you work your tail off but don't get the promotion, or someone treats you unfairly, that yardstick makes us feel personally attacked, victimized. We immediately think, why me? This isn't right.
It sounds like Our ego wanting control, clashing with, well, the unpredictable nature of everything.
That's precisely the conflict the framework tackles, and the book offers this maybe sobering but ultimately freeing realization. You are not the center of the universe's attention.
Ouch. But also liberating. Right. Some things just happen. Good things, bad things, things that make zero sense. They aren't necessarily aimed at you personally, like some cosmic reward or punishment. They're just part of the universal flow.
So accepting that the universe doesn't owe me a perfectly logical plotline, that's the key to keeping my balance.
It's the fundamental shift. It lets you stay grounded in your chosen inner state. Ideally, love, peace, calm, instead of burning up all your energy reacting to every single thing that doesn't match your personal yardstick.
Drop the yardstick, stop measuring reality against it.
And you instantly remove a major source of your own emotional suffering. You stop creating it yourself.
But okay, if we're supposedly born with this authentic self, why do we go to all the trouble of building this fake, fragile external one? That seems to lead right into what the book calls external conditioning. It says our identity becomes a collage of borrowed perceptions.
That phrase is so good, isn't it? A collage of borrowed perceptions. Because it really highlights how little of what we think of as us might actually be original. We need to be really clear on the term social conditioning.
Define that for us.
Social conditioning is that constant flood of expectations, ideals, and beliefs pushed onto us basically from day one. It comes from, well, everyone and everything: parents, teachers, friends, social media, news, movies, the government, institutions.
Yeah, we get bombarded with ideas about what's beautiful, what's powerful, what success looks like, how much money you should have.
Right, and if you don't fit the mold, you risk rejection, which is terrifying because acceptance feels like a survival need deep down.
So we internalize those external standards. We
Right.
start measuring ourselves against criteria we never actually chose consciously.
Exactly, and the authentic self, as the book puts it, just gets buried deeper and deeper under all these layers of shoulds and musts. It's like being told constantly, to be okay, to be worthy, you should do this, you must look like that.
And the result is our identity becomes this kind of constant performance.
A performance, always looking over your shoulder for external validation. Applause, likes, approval. And the book is really blunt here. Relying on that external approval creates what it calls the paradox of dependency.
Meaning, we think performing gets us security, praise, status, whatever, but actually,
That very dependency makes real inner freedom impossible. If your feeling of worth hinges on your boss's opinion or what your partner thinks or how many followers you have,
then you're constantly tweaking your behavior, managing perceptions, trying to keep their approval. It sounds exhausting.
you basically become a hostage to what other people think. The only way out, the book argues, the only path to real liberation is to finally get that your worth isn't given to you by the outside world. It's intrinsic. It's already there. It can't be taken away.
Wow. And the moment you truly grasp that,
You stop performing. You start living from that authentic core and think of the energy you save.
okay, so we've identified the external prison, the socially conditioned self. Now, the framework turns inward, right? To look at the mechanism that actually keeps us locked inside the mind.
And here comes maybe the biggest revelation for self-mastery. The mind is not the self.
Say that again. The mind is not the self.
It's the ultimate case of mistaken identity. We think we are our thoughts. But the book argues the mind is an incredibly powerful tool, yes, absolutely essential, but your core identity, your true self, has to be something beyond it.
Because if you think you are your thoughts, you're just tossed around by every mental storm that blows through.
Exactly. And then the book immediately connects this to the body. It stresses how deeply the mind influences the physical body.
We tend to separate them, don't we? Like mental health over here, physical health over there. But the book says an unbalanced mind, maybe stuck in stress from those erroneous identifications, can directly cause physical problems.
Directly. It's not metaphorical, it's chemical. It happens through that complex dance of neurophysiology, hormones, and brain chemicals. When your mind is caught in loops of worry, anger, fear, driven by those false ideas about who you are, it keeps triggering the body's stress response, the fight or flight system.
Right, which floods the body with chemicals.
Primarily cortisol and adrenaline. Cortisol is the big one, the main stress hormone.
Okay.
And when adrenaline surges, what happens? Heart pounds, breathing gets fast and shallow, digestion slows down, immune system gets suppressed. The body is preparing for immediate danger.
But if the danger is just a chronic worry loop in the mind,
Then you're constantly bathing your system in these stress chemicals. Long-term high cortisol, the book explains, messes with your immune system, causes inflammation, contributes to gut problems, fatigue, muscle pain. The list goes on. The connection is absolutely physiological.
okay, so if we want to manage this internal system, we need to understand the mind itself better. The book makes this really helpful distinction between mind structure and mind function.
Yes, this is key. Think of the mind structure as like this vast energetic field that radiates out from the physical brain. This field is the space where thoughts just appear, bubble up.
Okay, a field where thoughts emerge.
And importantly, the book notes that most of these thoughts arising are subconscious. They're linked to old memories, stored experiences, past programming. It's like raw data constantly surfacing from your internal hard drive.
So if the structure is the field where thoughts appear,
Hmm.
then mind function is what we do with those thoughts once they show up.
Exactly. Function is how we engage. A thought pops up, maybe worry about a work deadline. What happens next? Do you latch onto it, let it spiral, connecting it to fears about money, your health, that mistake you made last year, creating this tangled, stressful mess?
Sure.
Or can you observe it, maybe acknowledge it, and then consciously steer your focus back to clarity? Back to the present task. Mind function is about noticing that natural leaping tendency of the mind, how thoughts jump all over the place, sometimes incredibly fast.
So the goal is to develop the ability to watch this structure and function almost like an outsider, to get some distance.
That distance is crucial because without it, we get completely fused with the thoughts and feelings.
Which seems to explain why we can be so sensitive, why we personalize everything that happens.
We personalize it because often underneath there are these deep insecurities, maybe formed way back in childhood, old wounds. So when something happens now, it triggers those old feelings and we react as if the past is happening all over again. We might desperately seek validation or affection to soothe that old pain.
Which makes us super sensitive to anything that feels like criticism or rejection.
Every little comment, every look can feel like a major threat to that fragile, externally built sense of self we talked about.
And boom, that mental personalization instantly triggers those physical stress reactions we discussed.
Right. And we usually don't notice the whole chain reaction until the physical symptoms hit hard, the headache, the tight chest, the stomach issues, trouble sleeping,
We end up treating the symptom like taking something for the headache.
without ever addressing the root cause. The mental emotional process that kicked off the whole physiological cascade just moments before. Which brings us right to the engine driving these automatic reactions. Subconscious programming.
Okay, let's define that carefully. What is subconscious programming according to this framework?
It's defined as that really deep unconscious conditioning we develop over a lifetime. The book even suggests it could start from conception. It creates these automatic reflexive behaviors and emotional responses to certain triggers.
Like a reflex.
Exactly like a reflex. The analogy used is powerful. You put your hand in fire, you pull it back instantly, right? You don't stop to think, this is hot, perhaps I should withdraw. It bypasses conscious thought.
Okay, but how does that work emotionally or psychologically? The book uses the idea of a mental film.
Yeah, the subconscious film is a great way to picture it. Think about past experiences, maybe getting consistent praise as a child, or maybe experiencing repeated harsh criticism. These experiences get encoded as thoughts, but they're bundled with really strong emotional responses.
Okay? Thought plus emotion.
Over time, those intense emotional responses settle into persistent feelings that get stored deep in the subconscious. Then, years later, when a situation comes up that even vaguely resembles that original experience,
The whole mental film just replays automatically.
instantly, trigger pulled, film rolls. So that sudden wave of anxiety you feel walking into a meeting might not actually be about the meeting today. It could be that old film of feeling judged or inadequate from school playing back, complete with the rapid heartbeat and shallow breathing you felt back then.
Wow. So you're reacting to a ghost, essentially.
Precisely. And the impact, the book stresses, is huge. It leads directly to those unwanted physical and physiological reactions, the chronic tension, the headaches, the constant energy drain.
Yeah.
You literally become, as the book says, a hostage to this old conditioning.
A hostage to your own programming.
And if that stress cycle just keeps running unchecked, the constant chemical bath eventually leads to a real breakdown in physical health. We're forced to react based on old patterns and making genuine conscious choice almost impossible until we learn how to interrupt that film.
Okay, so if we're hostages to this subconscious programming, Section 3 seems to be about breaking free. Getting the keys to the cell, maybe. And it starts with a really big concept: absolute personal responsibility.
Yes, and we need to be super clear about what this means because it can be easily misunderstood. It does not mean taking responsibility for the trigger. You are not responsible if someone is abusive or cruel towards you. You don't control their behavior.
Okay, that's important. So if someone yells at me, I'm not responsible for their yelling.
Correct. But the framework insists you must take absolute personal responsibility for controlling your response to their yelling.
Ah, the response. That's the distinction. But that's tough. If someone hurts me, I feel hurt. Am I responsible for feeling hurt? Is the book saying I should just, ignore bad behavior? People might really struggle with that.
That's the core challenge, absolutely. And the book is careful not to suggest ignoring harm or becoming a doormat. It says, look, you can only change yourself. You can't force someone else to change. By taking responsibility for your response, you're actually reclaiming your power. You're essentially saying, your chaos, your negativity, your issues, I choose not to let them destabilize my internal state of peace.
So it's a form of self-preservation. It allows me to stay calm, maybe even feel compassion for the other person who's clearly struggling.
Exactly. You can recognize they're likely acting out their own programming while you simultaneously protect your own inner stability.
And the outcome of mastering this, the book says, is reaching a state of immovability, where external stuff just doesn't knock you off your center as easily.
That immovability becomes your new baseline, your grounded place. And from there, your responses can be conscious, intentional choices, not just those old knee-jerk reactions that drain all your energy.
So how do we build that immovability? What are the tools? The book introduces mindfulness as the primary one.
Right. And we hear mindfulness a lot these days, but the Foundations of Angel Wing defines it very specifically.
So
It defines mindfulness as being consciously aware of really every aspect of what's happening in your mind and body moment by moment, and fully immersing yourself right here in the present, letting go of replaying the past or worrying about the future.
just being totally here.
And doing that, being fully present, actually does something really important in the brain. Physiologically, it engages the prefrontal cortex, or PFC.
The PFC, that's the thinking part of the brain, the rational part.
Exactly. It's involved in higher level stuff. Knowledge, decision-making, planning, controlling impulses. See, when that fight or flight response kicks in, when the old subconscious film starts rolling, the emotional center, the amygdala, often hijacks the system. It bypasses the rational PFC.
So you react emotionally before you can even think straight.
Precisely. The angel wing practice, as described, is about using specific tools to consciously re-engage that PFC, even when you feel triggered.
Ah, so the practice creates that crucial pause, that tiny gap between the trigger and the reaction, giving you a few seconds to breathe, calm down, and choose how to respond instead of letting the old program run automatically.
That's exactly it. Those vital seconds make all the difference. The book really emphasizes daily practice with these tools to shift your whole default state away from anxiety and towards peace.
And that stable state allows for another important distinction the book makes: being non-reactive versus unaffected.
Yes, let's unpack that. They sound similar but are very different.
So if I'm non-reactive, does that mean I'm supposed to be like a robot? Emotionless, stoic?
Not at all. Being non-reactive means you maintain your inner stability. You use your practice breathing, your techniques to stay calm and centered even when something challenging is happening. You acknowledge the situation, maybe you even feel empathy, but you choose not to respond from a place of inner turmoil.
Okay, so it's controlled,
Yeah.
stable, intentional.
Right. Whereas being unaffected might imply indifference or coldness or just not caring. Non-reactive is an active, stable choice you make to preserve your peace. It's not about suppressing feeling. It's about not being controlled by the feeling.
Got it. Now, let's talk about the unhealthy reactions we're trying to move beyond. The book points out two main ways the fight or flight response shows up negatively: active aggression
Like yelling, getting irritable, snapping at people.
and freezing.
Yeah. Becoming immobile, shutting down, unable to act or speak, just stuck.
Both sound pretty draining and unhelpful.
Totally. The goal instead is to cultivate the ability to stay calm even when, say, someone else is losing it. If someone's shouting at you and you respond with a calm, even tone, maybe non-confrontational body language, it often has this interesting effect.
What's that?
It can sometimes help the other person's prefrontal cortex click back online because you're not giving their emotional outburst the reactive fuel it expects. You remain stable, which helps you maintain control of your state and might even de-escalate the situation.
But gosh, those old programmed reactions feel so automatic sometimes. How's the book say we actually deprogram that subconscious film? Can we erase it?
Well, erase might be too strong a word. It's more about neutralizing its power. The framework for deprogramming involves consistent, conscious effort. The book is realistic. It says this often takes months, maybe even years. It's like building any deep-seated habit.
So what's the process?
You have to repeatedly catch that sequence. The trigger, the thought, the emotion starting to spiral. You need to interrupt it in that tiny gap before the emotion fully takes over. Consistent mindfulness and deep controlled breathing are absolutely fundamental. They create the space.
And the book also mentions specific energy techniques, like tapping or sight kinesiology. How do they fit in?
Right, those are part of the specific angel wing practice methodology. Tapping, which is also known as EFT or emotional freedom technique, involves gently tapping on specific meridian points on the body while you focus on the disturbing thought, feeling, or memory.
Okay, tapping while thinking about the stressful thing. What does that do?
The idea is that it helps to dissociate the intense emotional charge from the memory or thought. It sends calming signals to the brain, even while the disturbing thought is active. So you're not forgetting the memory.
You're just taking the sting out of it, uncoupling the physiological panic from the thought itself.
Exactly. You're neutralizing it, creating emotional distance. And then, crucially, at the same time you're working to neutralize the old negative programming, you need to consciously install beneficial new programming.
Like writing a new script.
Precisely. This involves repeatedly visualizing and mentally rehearsing the desired calm-centered response in those trigger situations. You're actively building new neural pathways, creating a new mental film to play instead of the old one. It takes conscious, repeated effort, just like learning any new skill.
So we're moving from being passive victims of our past programming to becoming active sculptors of our present mental landscape.
Beautifully put. And that leads us right into the practice of detachment. The book highlights meditation, especially observer meditation, as key here.
Observer meditation, how does that work?
It's the practice of consciously stepping back and watching the mind's activity without getting entangled in it. You observe the thoughts, the worries, plans, judgments, memories just drifting by like clouds in the sky. You, the observer, are separate from the thoughts.
Creating that critical distance again. It stops you from identifying with every random thought that pops into your head.
Exactly. It strengthens the awareness of the true self as the watcher, not the watched.
And to anchor this idea philosophically, the book brings in this concept from Taoism, Wu Wei.
Yes, Wu Wei. It's often translated as non-action or effortless action.
Which sounds a bit like being lazy or passive.
That's a common misunderstanding. But in Taoist philosophy, Wu Wei is considered the most effective form of action that's perfectly aligned with the natural flow of things, like water flowing around a rock. In the context of this framework, it means accepting the way things are, accepting life's constant change.
And moving with that flow, not fighting against it.
Right. Instead of trying to bash through obstacles with sheer force or resistance, which just drains your energy, Wu Wei suggests finding the path of least resistance, going around obstacles or over them gently. It fosters creativity and adaptability because you're not rigid, you're flowing.
I see the link now. Resisting reality creates suffering. Wu Wei is about acceptance and skillful engagement with reality as it is. And that's totally different from that unhealthy freezing reaction we talked about earlier.
Absolutely. Freezing is paralysis born of fear. Wu Wei is wise, active stillness. It's maintaining your inner peace while engaging with the world effectively when necessary, but without that draining internal resistance. It's really the practical application of detachment.
Okay, moving with the flow. Acceptance, detachment. This feels like it's building towards something really big.
Yeah.
The final section talks about true transformation. And the book makes a strong point. Transformation isn't just like changing your habits. It's something deeper, permanent.
Yes, it describes transformation as an irreversible shift, an awakening, a fundamental realization. The analogy used is powerful. The metamorphosis of a caterpillar into a butterfly. Once you've become the butterfly, you can't go back to being a caterpillar.
So once you truly break free from the illusion of that conditioned, reactive self, and you experience the peace and freedom of the authentic self.
There's no going back. The perspective shift is permanent. It's about moving beneath the constant noise of thoughts and emotions to touch that underlying state of calm equanimity.
And getting there requires letting go of our attachment to the ups and downs, the constant roller coaster of pleasure and pain.
We have to start seeing emotions for what they are, transient phenomena, like weather patterns passing through. The goal isn't to become emotionless, that's impossible and undesirable. The goal is to cultivate an equanimous state.
Equanimity.
A state of inner balance, stability, and composure that remains steady even when the surface waters of emotion are choppy. You don't get overly elated by pleasure or completely devastated by pain. You recognize both are temporary.
And achieving that state saves a massive amount of energy, right? Because you're not constantly chasing highs or fighting lows or getting lost in mental drama.
Huge energy savings. You reclaim all that mental bandwidth for more constructive use.
So when we manage to quiet the mental chatter, move beyond just identifying with the mind and body, the framework points to an even bigger realization about who we are.
Yeah.
That fundamentally, we are energy beings.
This is where the book beautifully bridges the gap between, say, the psychological and the maybe more spiritual or even scientific. We are made of atoms, right? And what are atoms? They're essentially vibrating bundles of energy.
Basic physics.
Right. And physics tells us energy can't be created or destroyed, only transformed. So if our fundamental makeup is energy and energy is, in essence, eternal,
then our sense of self expands way beyond this current body, this current lifetime, this specific personality.
thematically, you start to realize your essence is this timeless transforming energy.
And the implication of that realization, according to the book, is profound. If our core essence is this eternal energy, and the book suggests the nature of this pure energy is unconditional love, peace, joy, then our sense of separation from others
Is revealed as an illusion, a trick of the mind, of the ego.
If we're all fundamentally energy, and that energy is love,
Yeah.
then division doesn't make sense.
It dissolves the very basis for conflict, prejudice, and separation. How can you truly harm another if, at the deepest level, you recognize you are fundamentally the same essence? Harming them becomes, energetically speaking, harming yourself. This realization naturally fosters empathy, compassion, unconditional love.
Regardless of superficial differences in personality, beliefs, politics, religion.
At the level of spirit, the book argues, we are one.
And recognizing this unity becomes the driving force for positive change, for addressing suffering, injustice, inequality. It moves beyond just personal peace.
Yes, this is the ultimate potential of individual mastery spilling over into collective well-being.
Which takes us to the highest level of the vision presented in the book. Individual transformation leading to global societal evolution.
Exactly. The human mind, the human intellect, when it's mastered and aligned with this understanding of unity, has incredible creative power. Think about it. We build cities, create art, explore space.
But that same intellect, when unmastered, when driven by fear and separation,
Can be incredibly destructive. War, terrorism, exploitation, environmental destruction. It all stems from that unmastered mind. Mastery means wielding that immense creative power wisely for the good of everyone.
And this requires more than just individual change. It demands looking critically at our systems. The book calls for challenging those hierarchical belief systems.
The ones that say your worth is based on how much money you have, or your education level, or your social status. Arbitrary metrics.
And it also challenges the societal structures built on those beliefs, our economic systems, education systems, political systems that often seem designed to promote competition, division, and even exploitation.
Yeah, the book doesn't shy away from pointing fingers here. It gives examples, like citing corporate practices, using Monsanto as a case study, where the relentless pursuit of profit seems to override concerns for public health or the environment.
So the critique isn't about a specific political party or ideology.
No, it's about the underlying principle of exploitation, which the book argues stems from that unmastered, ego-driven mind that sees itself as separate and in competition with others.
The ultimate vision, then, is a society restructured based on this deep understanding of our interconnectedness.
That's the ideal state presented. A world where resources are shared more equitably, where equality isn't just a buzzword, where children are encouraged to follow their unique passions instead of being crammed into a standardized educational mold that just serves the old competitive model.
It sounds like a world that rejects narratives justifying conflict and division, and truly embraces the idea that we're all in this together, one human family.
That's the core message. Our collective survival and evolution depend on recognizing that unity. Personal transformation isn't selfish. It's profoundly altruistic because your inner peace contributes directly to the potential peace of the whole world. #outro.
Wow. We have really covered a lot of ground today, diving deep into the foundations of Angel Wing, Volume 1. Let's just quickly recap the main points of this incredible journey the book lays out for you, the listener.
Okay, so we started by recognizing that trap getting caught in erroneous identifications, defining ourselves by external things.
Then we went inside, decoding the mind, its structure, its function, and the immense power of that hidden subconscious programming that dictates so many of our automatic reactions.
The key to breaking free. That huge shift to taking absolute personal responsibility, not for the trigger, but for our internal
And
response.
we learned about the tools, daily practices like mindfulness and observer meditation to create space, interrupt old patterns, cultivate that steady equanimous state, and ultimately achieve real, lasting transformation.
And finally, realizing our true nature as interconnected energy beings, which dissolve separation and compels us to work not just for our own peace, but for the well-being and evolution of all society.
It's a powerful framework, and the book suggests something fascinating, that our interactions actually start before words are even spoken. They begin energetically. We're constantly sending out energy signals.
So, if your deepest, most authentic self, that core spiritual identity beneath all the conditioning, truly is unconditional love and peace, that brings up a really practical question for you to reflect on right now.
What's one immediate conscious step, maybe something small that you can take today, maybe even in the next hour, to align the energy you're actually putting out into the world right now with that true, peaceful self?
How can you consciously shift your energetic state, even slightly, to contribute more peace and tranquility, not just to your own life, but to the wider world around you?
This knowledge isn't just theoretical, it's a resource, a toolkit for actively shaping your reality.
Use it well. Until the next deep dive, take care.